Ta-da! I was working on this last night, and I got some stuff done, but I wasn't really happy with where I was at, so I held off and kept going on it tonight. Yeah, it's really cool. I think it's come out so well now. So I'm going to let this one turn on, because it takes a while to heat up. This is V6, that's how many iterations I've gone through. So all the TCP stuff is now floating up here. I redesigned the tender. I thought the tender was a bit bleh, not very good. So now I've got these axles with 4 wheels. There's no motors on these. So this is purely a tender. It's going to be dragged by the train. So there's obviously a little bit of microcontroller mess on the roof. But I'll show you how the engine is set up in here because it's actually really interesting. So it's a steam engine, a normal steam piston engine. I've got the diesel furnace, which is pumping, this pump here is exhaust, it's pumping it up into the 2 funnels up there. Then I have a secondary boiler and a main boiler. The main boiler is pumping steam, I think it goes up and then down into the piston, 5 pistons, then on the other side it hits a pump and comes back on the other side into another set of 5 pistons. So the steam is recycled between 5. And that just, I don't know, gives you more power or something. Not really sure on the specifics. Then there's a pump here, which pumps it through these valves. I've got 2 variable valves here. One of these valves goes into the condenser. The other valve goes into the drive piston. And it's pretty smart. What it's doing, it's just feeding off the TCP throttle output. And one of them is, I think it's this one here, is taking whatever TCP says to do, because it's just a value between 0 and 1, same for the electric motors. And then it's going x minus 1, or 1 minus x, for this other one, so it's making up the difference. So if, say, this one here was at 0.8, then this valve will be at 0.2, so it's getting all the steam. Some of it's going into the wheels, and some of it's going directly into the condenser. Then there's a pump down there somewhere. And it sends the water all the way back, and there's a little baby tank of water down below the boiler, and then that cycle just continues. And then all the pistons linked together go into these 7 gearboxes up here. I just put a flywheel in here to try and stabilize the output of SWATs, and then it goes into a medium generator. So I think it was outputting about 1600 SWATs, so that's pretty good. And the condenser is just cooled by an electric radiator on the front. I did put a big old searchlight in there, and I'm still working out how to properly integrate that, but I think it would be nice to have the little spotlight as a headlight, and then the big spotlight as a, I don't know, a bigger headlight. This one here, the small one, can only do 20 meters or 60 meters, and then this one can do whatever double of it is. I think it's 120. It's something really crazy long range though. I'm probably going to get rid of these displays and make it so the seat can slide side to side, so you can be looking out the window, push a button, and then you slide to the other side. And then what I did to the back of this, I butchered it. I tore it apart completely. I really didn't like it, but I really love this. There's a hinged door now, a little staircase, and that brings you down to the same kind of railed area that's on the side of the loco, and then a little open air gangway. And then that just comes across into the tender. Nothing in here, but what I want to do is either the front will become fuel store, and then the back to be a living space, so that you can take this loco and tender as a cargo train up to the Arctic and have a bed and heaters and stuff, like a living space within the tender. And then this here is all still connected properly, so that if you want to put passenger cars or something on that have gangways, you can just connect those up. I picked this kind of orangey color because there are a lot of comments saying like brass and bronze and a kind of like steampunk aesthetic. I thought this kind of looked a bit like a bronze color, but it does look very orange when it's spawned in. So the easiest thing to do will just be to keep going with that color and then color bucket it to replace it all at the same time. I started putting doors on here tonight so that I can cover up the engine. It's a bit noisy. I might just, I'm just going to turn Stormworks down while I'm on the loco here. So each one of these heat sinks in between these grey stripes is access to the engine. So you push the button and the whole thing slides up. Because there's such limited space running around the side, I had to do them that way, but it actually looks really cool. This one here with the little slope is really neat because it lines up with that slope. And you might also see this here. This is a pump. I had nowhere to put this pump, so I had to use some door frames to kind of give this curved shape. And then the pump sits in the wall. And the same thing happened on the other side, but it was in a shorter section, so I was unable to put a door in here, so that's why I've put the big number in there. And then on the other side, the number has just replaced the heatsink. So I think it's got quite good access. If something does break and you need to come and weld it, you can see the batteries. You can get at everything, even though this one kind of opens not very big. But the rest of them, you can weld the pipes, all the pistons. And then the good thing is you can weld the furnace and the boilers and probably all the pumps. There's no access on the other side for the boilers. So from here backwards, because all the pipes coming off the boilers and the furnace are in the walls. What I want to do is have a button that can probably just close all those doors. So if you've been running around welding stuff up, you don't have to go and individually close all those doors. A speed sensor could be good, so that when it detects that you've started moving again, it just closes them all. And they all lock. They're all connected to hard points down in the bottom here. So when they're closed, they're locked and they're not using electricity. The downside of this is that they are using electricity when they're up. It's probably not too much. I might try and find a better solution for keeping them up. I do have a track with a gripper, so I can break them when they get up to the top. I tried a couple of different variations of the logic and it just wasn't working for me. This thing here on the side, you can't really see it, which is really nice. It's kind of blended in, but this is all the fuel management in here. So you get a hose, there's a fuel anchor or a hose anchor in the middle, and then pump in, pump out toggles, and then a fuel level. So it's pretty straightforward. These two pumps control pumping in and out from this. So if you want to refuel just the loco, it's got its own onboard fuel tank. I don't know how big it is yet, but obviously the tender can store a lot more fuel. This thing can probably store more fuel than you actually get in the game. This valve here is manual refueling, so it allows you to go straight from this hose into the tank if for some reason these two pumps have failed. These two valves here are the manual flow for if you want to allow diesel to come in from the tender into the loco, or if you want to allow it to go back from the loco to the tender. There are automatic valves behind this, but in case they break as well and you can't fix them or whatever, then you've got two manual valves that you can use. So that's just a nice little panel for managing all of that. I need to put a gripper back in here and then that will keep that closed when we're in transit. So I'll try and start it again. It does run. I've been testing it quite a lot because TCP is not intended to be used with a steam engine, as in running the steam wheels. So yeah, there's a couple of weird things that I had to do. One of them is I've got 3 different wheel slips because the electric wheels are overpowering the steam wheels sometimes, and sometimes the steam wheels are overpowering the electric wheels. So by hooking all 3 of these sets of wheels up into the slip, it's basically if that is slipping, or that is slipping, or that is slipping, then it sends the signal up to TCP to do its ABS. I've been finding it quite hard to detail it because I was going for quite a smooth look on it. So most of the detail has to be like weight blocks or fluid ports, heat sinks, stuff that blends in to the side without poking out. Since I've only got 2 blocks to walk past, and I'm only 7 blocks high up to here, I think, if I put anything poking out, it's probably going to cause you to not be able to walk around the whole thing. Yeah, so I really like how it's quite smooth, and I don't think I'm going to put too much stuff on the top, too many extra details. Like all those microcontrollers are just individual door controllers. all this TCP stuff is going to go in the fuel tank most likely. And I don't know if I want to put something in here like a big word. I think it's the Pennsylvania Railroad T1 or something like that. It has one of these kind of banner things or something similar that goes across the whole tender, and it says Pennsylvania stretched out really far. So I might like to do something like that, do some fancy text for the whole length of it with a really wide letter spacing. I'm going to turn the Stormworks back up now. It's so loud. Down the front, it's not so loud because, I mean, it's still pretty loud. But I think there's only 2 pumps in here. There's 4 or 5 pumps down on the furnace end. And the furnace is just real noisy anyway. So I'll jam it up to probably go like 180 to get started. The PID that controls the speed at the moment is quite sensitive, so it's easier to come up slowly in speed until you get to your top speed. Yeah, I want to go left and get over to Sawyer where that really sharp turn is, because I haven't tried the tender over there. And I haven't tried it with all the slides on and everything. I'm actually really liking the red of the buttons and the red of those microcontrollers. I wonder if I should replace all this orange stuff with red. So it'd be like a red, black and grey. When I was testing the loop around $30 train yard in the desert there, it was maintaining 220 on the straights, but the ABS kicks in a lot around the corners and drops it down to 120. So that's what all that wheel slip is. It's detecting if any of the wheels are slipping, and it's applying the brakes across all the wheels. I really want to know how this gangway is going to hold up. It's pretty sketchy, but it has been working so far. Because the gangway is connected to that hinge down there, which is connected to that wheel, which is connected way further up there on a pivot. On the tender, the gangway is connected to the body. So it's really only on the loco where it can move way too much. But this is good. It keeps me in here. I haven't fallen off it or anything. Something broke then. That's not good. I might have to cut away this piece where the pipe is connecting. Do you like this color scheme? Is this good? Or should I change it to red instead of the orange? I tried making these stripes a lighter grey, similar to the main body grey, and it just didn't look right. When I changed them to these very light grey, it just popped. Everything just popped, and it was so much nicer to look at. So I'm doing about 160. It is slowing down here. It might just be a bit of a wobbly bit of track. But this corner is probably going to destroy the gangway. Yeah. It does seem to struggle around that corner anyway. I think it's just too many wheels and it's too long. I think, yeah, for the gangway, what I'm thinking is I need this block so you can connect to there, but these ones don't need to exist. So it's likely I can put a wedge in or do it the other way, wedge like this. I just need some way to connect this pipe if I do this and chuck a pipe in the bottom here, I don't think that's really changing the hitbox too much, and it damaged the pipe itself. Because this pipe uses invisible blocks, if I delete those 2 invisible blocks, then it's only this middle section where my hitbox actually is. So I could probably get rid of that, and then it's only too long here though. If I used a wedge, I might be able to do something like that where I'm using pieces that have more of a happy experience clipping through things. It'll be a bit of playing around, I think, to try and get that stuff sorted. One thing I noticed as well is this paint block here maybe seems a bit unnecessary. Might just be able to put a wedge straight in there, and then yeah, I can just wedge the whole way across there. I could even do something like that. It gives it a bit of a support and hides everything back here. And then I can just paint this wedge with yellow. We'll try that. I probably should have saved it as a V7. And real quick, I'll just see if I can change all these yellows to red. I can already tell I don't really like it. Yeah, it's a bit too much. I'll go back to trying to find a nice kind of bronzy, brassy kind of yellow color. I'm just going to push the tender away and show you what they look like separately. So yeah, even the loco just on its own I think is really cool. But the tender as well, I'm so happy that I rebuilt it. This shape is really interesting. I like it a lot more than just having a giant blob. And the axles, the wheels look so much better as well. They're just a really stretched out version of my other ones. So nothing really new, but they look so much better than before. Yeah, let me know what you think. Any improvements or changes I should make. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.